Good morning. I didn't plan on making a reaction video until I was surfing and seeing the senator from Kentucky, not the one uh, that's in hiding, and that Democratic governor is wanting to expel the Democrats in there up in there. No, we're talking about Rampa and and Fauci. I uh, I qualify myself as an expert in not catching anything. Uh, I spent a long time not catching anything, and every time I did catch something, it was cause of my stupidity. But when other people are stupid, it affected me in my profession. When I became a paramedic back in the day, I rode with a paramedic, my very first paramedic, Tommy, and we worked in Atlanta. And we used to set up in up at around the CDC, Children's Healthcare Atlanta, um, Emory University Hospital, and we used to sit around up there. But the CDC in Atlanta is right up there amongst them, up there on the hill, rich crowd. And you used to be able to walk in the CDC in the 90s and the early 2000s like you owned the joint. But I remember healthcare and seeing Fauci up there walking around the CDC and remembering his advice to all of us, uh, that you could catch AIDS and HIV from breathing the same air. I took that serious. Mm. And so back in the day in Atlanta, they had HIV houses, AIDS houses, and everybody was really careful. We used to have to dress up, and head to toe and everything from Fauci's advice and the CDC, which was Everett Koop. And so he said you catch AIDS and HIV from breathing the same air. Look it up. He was a fool then, he's a fool today. And so, but I remember I was retired and I was watching the news in December when COVID was hitting the ground in China. And I called all my family. Look, the flu and viruses have been around forever. 1918, Spanish flu killed half of America. Shoot, half of the world's population. They don't know how many it killed. And it didn't kill like the normal flu. It killed people between the ages of 25 and 40 in the prime of their life, health. But if flu about killed me, and the flu's going to kill this world, and it's happened anyhow. Let's forget about all that. But so he made us all scared, and so we figured out you can't catch HIV and AIDS from breathing the same air. Well, he made the same thing under these presidents, and all the while making a fortune. I think this guy belongs in prison, up for a firing squad. My Uncle Charlie passed away. He was a preacher. He passed away during COVID. He didn't have COVID, he had bladder cancer. And that's a horrible way to go. Any type of cancer is a horrible way to go. But he couldn't have anybody in the hospital with him. Everything was on this phone, and nobody could come to the funeral. Nobody could come to the graveside. Everybody could go look after he was buried. How many people was done that way? I remember during the beginning of COVID, I had a YouTube channel. I didn't know anything about YouTube, but I had been on YouTube about as long as it had been going. And I used it for training and teaching purposes, teaching my students how to stay away from dangerous gases. I'll put that video up so y'all be aware of that. And but you know, a lot of people have been killed, murdered because of a lab leak and his lying. And a lot of lives have been destroyed because people are smarter than everybody else. Like I said in previous video, those people right there are crazy.
Welcome back. Anthony Fauci is set to testify in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee next week after declassified documents revealed his role in COVID-19, covering up the truth about the origins of COVID. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall is urging the DOJ to appoint a special counsel to investigate Fauci. Joining me now to talk more about that is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who has been pressing for answers as chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. He will be leading that discussion. Senator, good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning.
So you've been pressing for answers since 2020, and I want to get your take on what you think you can get out of Fauci during this testimony. We know what Tulsi Gabbard said, that U.S.-funded research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology contributed to the circumstances that led to COVID-19, and Fauci misled the country, the administration, and the world about his role in it. What are you expecting at this hearing?
I expect he will not tell the truth. I expect him to dissemble. I expect him to filibuster, but I don't expect him to be honest. He has not been honest in the last 6 years. But we have the evidence now that he destroyed records, that he encouraged others to destroy records. We have evidence and the opinion of many of the people who worked around with him that the research that was funded in China and Wuhan was dangerous, gain of function research, and that this was perhaps the worst public health decision made in our lifetime, maybe in history, to fund this research in a totalitarian country, an opaque country with a less than safe lab and very, very dangerous research. So this was a terrible decision. And we know it was made consciously because Fauci has told us repeatedly that he supports this research, even if an accident should happen, even if a pandemic should occur. He thinks that the knowledge is worth the risk. And I think the lives of 15 million people who died approximately would counter that, would say, well, maybe we should question whether the knowledge gained was worth 15 million lives.
Well, I mean, imagine that. You've got a new president, in the White House, President Donald Trump, fielding attacks from everywhere. He finds out there's a pandemic coming. It's quite serious. He asks his administration, what do we know about this? Who knows what? And there's Anthony Fauci, who knew all along, according to Tulsi Gabbard, that he actually was funding Eco Health Alliance, which was funding this gain of function research. And what does he say? Oh, I don't know. It came from a wet market.
Yeah, and we also know now that in January of 2020, at the very beginning, we know that he knew that it didn't come from the wet market. So
I was watching in December.
Still continues to argue that the most likely place is a wet market. But in January of 2020, we know that he was admitting privately that this virus, that the early cases didn't come from the wet market and were not connected to the wet market at all. So this is really the modus operandi here, is that privately he would tell the truth to others. There would be a discussion of truth, and then publicly there would be lies, nothing but lies. And it was purposeful to cover up and to try to distinguish and say, oh, I had nothing to do with this. I knew nothing about it. It wasn't dangerous research. All of that was untrue. All all of that was to escape culpability, and there was a grand cover-up of his connection with funding this dangerous research.
So, I mean, there are a couple questions that I have. The first question is, would people have been saved had he been truthful? Okay, all those people who died, we lost our loved ones. Would they have survived had he been truthful and told us what really went down and actually given people a head start in terms of countering it, in terms of stopping it? And secondly, you said it a couple of times. You're not expecting him to be truthful. You're expecting him to lie. He's been sticking with these lies for 6 years. I mean, at last check, lying to Congress is a felony. Will there be any accountability for lies?
Yes, and that's one of the risks he has in coming, is if that he lies during the hearing. That's a new lie, and the pardon won't cover that. So it's yet to be known whether he will testify. We hope he testifies. We hope he tells the truth. But yes, he will be under oath, and it will be a crime if he lies to us. So we'll see where it goes. But there's some very specific evidence that we have now that it will be very difficult for him to controvert. And so we'll see if he's willing to come and tell the truth or not. But it is important. The debate is important because really the Trump administration has stopped gain of function research. But I have legislation that would stop it permanently, that would set up a presidential commission to review this dangerous research. We aren't done with this. If we want to stop this from happening again, we need to make sure that there are rules in place that one rogue person obsessed with their own power, like Anthony Fauci, never becomes that powerful again and never allows this kind of dangerous research to go on.
Well, I mean, you say, look, if he lies, you said he already did lie to you, right? So
Yes.
Is there any accountability for that? I mean, look, I remember inauguration weekend. President Trump was about to get inaugurated on January 20th, and I see a headline on my phone that Biden is pardoning Anthony Fauci. Literally, it was a few hours before Donald Trump took the oath of office for his second term. Did the auto pen do that? Did Joe Biden do that? Is that actually a legitimate pardon, or can actually that be questioned?
I continue to advocate that they should question the pardon, that they should challenge this in court, and that he should be prosecuted. I don't control the prosecution. A lot of people think I do, but I don't control prosecution. But I have sent 2 letters, criminal referrals, to the Biden DOJ and also to the Trump DOJ. I think there is evidence there, and I think the pardon should be challenged. It's vague. It's a 10-year period of crimes, doesn't list the crimes. And then there is the question of whether or not President Biden was cognizant of which ones were being signed by the auto pen, whether he spoke directly to the technical operator of the auto pen. So there are a lot of questions, but that needs to be challenged in court. I continue to advise the DOJ that they should do this, but I can't force them to do that, and they have to make the legal arguments whether they can do that or not. But I can say that moving forward at this hearing, he will take an oath, and it will be a felony to lie to Congress. And even about things that happened during the period of time he's pardoned, if he continues to lie about what he did during that period of time, yes, we will recommend once again that there be a prosecution if he lies to Congress.
But by the way, this is an extraordinary pardon. Have you ever seen a pardon like this before, whereas you're basically immune to anything you've ever done in the last 10 years and the 10 years going forward? I mean, what did Joe Biden think Anthony Fauci did that he had to give such a wide pardon?
There's only one other pardon like this in history, and it went to Hunter Biden. They're identical pardons. And so in history, Anthony Fauci will be remembered and repeated in the same breath as Hunter Biden. And so that should alone be something that should be worrisome to the history's going to see him in the same light as Hunter Biden.
Simply extraordinary, Senator. Thanks very much for your work. We'll be watching your work on all of this. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Senator Rand Paul on Capitol Hill. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
That's crazy, ain't it? No pardons like that, of course. That's a dumb question. But no pardons of like that ever. And you want to know why all these congressmen and stuff are looking for UFOs? And why my alignment with Trump has went this way? Because when nobody has been held responsible for anything, for nothing. So remember when the UFOs was flying all over the coast, and And Trump was like, I know where they are. I know what the people will be crazy if when they find out. He plays games. He's an idiot. Yeah, I said it. I voted for the man 3 times and cried because I had to. Not no more. He's not America first, and he's not out for us. They're trying to shoot his head off, and that changed his mind. That would have changed my mind too. But anyhow, government. So, thank you for watching. Drop a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Uh, left or right. What do you think? You think people have been done wrong because of this COVID? I sure do. I think a lot of folks was done wrong just by having to take a shot. Anyhow, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And may God bless you all and be safe. Thank you. Have a good day.